Hey, welcome to the weekly wrap up. Now, this is post fallout of what happened for Saturday for me, which was probably late Friday night for many around the world, and $19 billion wiped off the market, like crazy amounts of money, because Trump put a tweet out saying that China was getting 100% tariffs. He's since somehow retracted that, and markets had a little bit of a bounce, but are the cracks going to start forming? So if we think back to FTX moment, and I know there's a lot of you here that are new and kind of to know all that history, but history matters for Bitcoin and for the market, because we've got similar stuff happening at the moment that I haven't seen many talking about just yet. So we had within those 19 billion liquidations, a lot of that was crypto loans. So if we have a look, we go back to what happened at the bottom for this bull run and what we saw with FTX and how that flushed out the whole system. So we saw, companies absolutely going down and getting liquidated. So not just people, not just retail traders, but big companies. So I'm wondering if there's some patches happening there at the moment, and we've got one more run up and, to try and make good for a lot of those companies. And there's going to be a major implosion in a couple of months when they can't piece this back together, when it's not looking good. So think back to FTX when it imploded and half the industry went up in flames, and everyone thought that was the end, like literally. So exchanges froze withdrawals, influencers vanished. I'm still here. I've been here since the whole, every run. So I'm just like here. But yeah, a whole heap of influencers vanished, like panic sell-offs, and literally the end of the world, the end of crypto, major capitulation event that kicked off this bull run. So every cycle has one. Back in 2020, we had the COVID crash. We had BitMEX, which deleveraged everyone and caused major, so much panic because their insurance fund failed. So there was so much that happened. But it's always leverage that flushes out the system. It's always the over-leveraged gamblers with the fake yields, smoke and mirrors, platforms that were never really actually solvent. That's the detox that we see in the system. So is that going to be the end detox that we see at the end of this run? So there's two mirrors on either side where we see, we started with that and we ended with that, and nobody learned any lessons. Nobody learned any leverage lessons. I saw one of the big influencers that's taken a break, probably never to return, had like a couple of $1 million in that crash and is left with 7 Solana. And it's like, for one, why are you trading on a DEX if you're trading with that much money? You're just hiding it, obviously, not wanting to pay taxes. So that's going to happen. And these are lessons that we need to start looking at, like the risks involved with leverage, with, all of these new DEXs popping up that offer leverage and, on-chain loans. These light the fuse. So when prices start pumping and everyone starts suddenly feels like they're a genius and the market's never-endingly going up, people start borrowing against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, to stake ETH, to borrow stable coins. They start yield farming on their yield farm and borrow against that. And that's when the market is so green that leverage looks like free money, and there's no free money. There's no free money. And it's like, that's why the majority of my signals are spot. And it's like, oh yeah, it's boring, but hey, I'm here every cycle, and I might not make the billions and millions of dollars that everyone makes on these, but I don't lose it either. So because leverage is the fuel that lights the fire, it's the fuel that lights the collapse. And when the price goes down, that borrowed capital becomes the wrecking ball. It's like, it's just your collateral losses and your value in the liquidation bots just go brrr. It's not the money printer going brrr, it's liquidation bots going brrr. And before you can even reply to those emails, log into the exchange, you've been completely liquidated. There's no time. So that's what a flush is. And they know what they're doing. Whales, exchanges, it's orchestrated. It comes from the top. This came from Trump. So who knows like what's going on there? Like, I'm not even going to say that because I'm probably going to knock on the door. But like, there's larger stuff at play here that we don't know. Like, we're just the small little fishies, as I said in the video the other day, that we're just sort of playing down the bottom. You know, we might be a dolphin, or we might be a shark, or we could be a whale, but there's bigger whales. There's like killer whales that come in and then take over all of this. So just be so aware that when you're, you know, going to lenders, like there was in 2022, like Celsius and BlockFi and Voyager, that are rehypothecating. Hang on, I've got to say this word properly. Hang on, I can never say it. Rehypothecating your crypto. So that means that they're lending out your collateral and they're re-lending on that collateral. So, and that's what happened in 2022. It's what happened in this last crash as well. So not to the extent that we saw with the FTX crash, but people woke up at that point to frozen withdrawals, bankruptcy filings. We don't want to get there again. So be responsible when you're getting on an exchange and you're going, oh my God, I can just leverage this 100 times. I can do that. Leverage isn't a tool to like make billions of dollars. You might think it is. Leverage is actually a tool to protect your capital. So if you use it correctly, don't cross margin, don't 100 times, or, you know, some exchanges offer like 500 times now on these dexes, and that's just stupid. So again, this is my like intro, and I'm having another rant because you guys literally drive me mental. The more I tell people that, you know, leverage responsibly and know what you're doing, and then you guys go, oh my God, I can make like $1 billion if I do this, and you do all the sums in your head. And it doesn't work like that. This is what happens. This is the result. So you might think that you're getting free money by putting your Bitcoin in and loaning against it. But there's a lot of people that just lost all of their Bitcoin because that's what they just did. So just be careful out there. Know what you're investing in, know what you're putting your money in, and know, more importantly, what the risk is and what you like could lose and what you're willing to lose. So, you know, when I go into a spot trade, I'm willing to lose 5 to 7%, like in an overall big trade, not 100%. And then, you know, my stop loss will move up as that goes. So exercise some caution with what you're doing, and always do the research and understand the risk involved with everything you do in crypto, because crypto is a high risk asset. It's not for the faint of heart. This last bull run has made it, all of you guys think that this is easy. And it's like, I'm here to tell you Crypto, when you think it's easy, will wipe you out and humble you. So yeah. Anyway, end of rant. Let's get into Bitcoin and see what is going to happen. Nothing yet. Just hang in there. But I'll add it in. And so this is what we were looking at the other day, because there was a few people, like lots and lots and lots of people in my DMs saying that they got liquidated for various reasons. And I've read a whole heap of them today. And I saw one of the guys, Alan, came in the GSIG chat and said that he got liquidated just due to taking a loan and thought there was no risk there. There's a lot of risk in everything you do in crypto. So just be really, really careful. It's just one of the risks, and it's one of the hidden risks, really, when you think about it, because, you know, we all know about the scams. We all know about don't click links. We all know don't give your seed phrase out. But we should be looking at what the risk is when we're over leveraging, when we're leveraging on a DEX where there's no protection, none whatsoever. And, you know, how to get around these things with, you know, multiple stop losses, because if there's no matching order, the stop loss will be like jumped until there is a matching order. And if you don't have a market sell on your stop loss, it's literally, if there's no matching order, it just gets jumped and you're going to be left holding those bags if you're in spot, or you are going to be liquidated because it's just going to keep going down. And there's not a lot you can do about it and there's no time when something happens like this to jump on board and go, okay, I've got time to go in, I've got time to put extra cash in there or extra tether in there and to make this liquid. No, exchanges know that you guys are all over leveraged, and it's like, whoa, we just wiped them all out. So yeah, so we had about 18% over the weekend. We can see on many of these downturns, we've got 20, 28%, 17%. You know, some of the early crypto, we had 50 to 60% in a day. And that is just insane. I think when we're going right back to like 2017, it was just insanity. It was like we were up at the all-time high, hit 20 grand, 50% drop. And it's like you cannot get there in time to add the liquidity to those positions. And it's like you might think that, you know, especially at this time of the market, we're coming to the end of a 4-year cycle. There's no way you should be, you know, margin trading unless you are in really small in and out positions. And they're the only positions that we offer within the group. So getting started in crypto. So be smart. Be really smart. So yeah, so I'm just going to say hi to a few people in the chat. If you're in the chat, please jump in and I will try and get some charts out. I've got some to go. My internet's shit at this time of night every week. I don't know why. Anyway, I've talked to Optus about it. Apparently they don't know. Anyway, so hi Sadi, hi Robert, hi KJ, hi Pew. I just butchered your name. So Puiu, however you say that. It's like, I'm not even going to try it again. Sorry for butchering your name. And hi, Jonas. So if there's anyone else who wants to jump in and say hi, or say hi on Twitter, and I'll come back after and say hello. So let's jump in to where we are in the pattern. So BTC is going up, I reckon, to test this 119,700. That's our first pivot on BTC. So it's likely it might see that range. If we do come down and we do, this is a really low time frame chart. So if you go on to YouTube, you'll see a scalp trading for beginners video that I did quite a few years ago now. I think it was probably about 5 years ago now. And on that, it tells you how to use the MAs and the EMAs to understand where we're going in the market. So at the moment, we are above the MAs. That means it's technically bullish on the 15-minute chart. So then we flick it up to the 30-minute chart, and we can see that we've got the 200 MA is just above. So that's a really good indicator of strength for BTC. So any pullback needs to hold that 112.188. We've got the 100 MA on the 30-minute sitting there. So that's, again, a really good indicator of strength for BTC. Now, if we keep going up through these time frames, and this is what we would start to want to see. We've seen, okay, BTC's pulled back. It's come back. It's held the 45-minute 100. And, you know, it's quite green. So it may come back down and retest. And when we look at the EMAs, which on my charts are always yellow and purple, the yellow one is the 21, the purple one is the 9. And they've crossed positive down at this point here. So that's a really strong indicator that this is bullish. Okay, we've got bullish divergent on the chart, stock indicators looking, you know, going the right way. We've turned at the bottom, and our 200 MA is sitting at about 118,400. Should get to that point, you would think. So let's go up to the next hourly and see where we are. Okay, so at this point, on the hourly, we've got resistance. And so if we go back to the 30-minute, we've got resistance. So we're going to do a little bit of correction at this point because we've got a little bit of resistance. Whether we come back all the way down to this point depends on how bullish the market is getting because people are seeing Bitcoins going up. So on the hourly, which because we've hit this 100, as long as we hold 112.118, likely we're going to that 119 because that's our next point of contact on the indicators. So it is looking quite strong at the moment. So I'm going to take it up all the way, jump a few time frames. 4-hour chart, 4-hour chart sitting with a 200. So 4-hour chart is still saying, okay, indicators are sitting above. That means we're still in a bearish position on the higher time frames. So lower time frames, we're seeing that change coming through. So on the 4-hourly, we're seeing the stock indicator is sitting at the top, which means, you know, we're getting to a point where there's a sell-off coming. We are getting more volume coming in on the MACD. So that means we've got a momentum change coming. So is this next like pullback going to just hold this pivot here, which is at 112.188? So provided that pullback holds, which it should, it does look likely, then we're going to get a 5 wave coming up, and we're probably either going into a new impulse here or we're going into a further ABC. So what that might look like if we're going into an ABC, we're coming up, we've got our A, which will probably touch just breaking that 119,760, come back down, maybe not all the way, depending on how bullish we get at that point when people are going, whoa, okay, Bitcoin's nearly at 120, better get in. So the next one we want to see is these pivots here broken. So that 124,700 pivot, the 126 pivot, and, you know, a touch to that sort of region, ABC. Now, if this was to be an impulse, like a complete impulse, it's going to look like that to start off with. Now, how we know this is bullish or whether this is bearish longer term is at that point in the market where we've hit that pivot, that 124,700-ish pivot, and we're like, okay, is this going up or is this going down? So what that would look like if this is a completed correction, so we get a 1, a 2, a 3, it wouldn't be an ABC anymore. We come back down, we'd retest. Now, Elliott wave, unless this is a really specific pattern, the 1 and the 4 cannot cross. So unless it's a wick in a leverage market, and then this next wave would break the high. So this is the point. Like, we'll come back down here, we'll touch this pivot, we'll come back and we will hold that 119 and then a continuation up. And that's when we'll see the tether printer going brrr. And that's when we'll see like all of the bears getting liquidated again. So it goes both ways. So bulls and bears get slaughtered, literally. So that's kind of what we need to be watching for. Now, if we don't get that C wave, and we break down here, then we're retesting that low. So it will be coming back down and retesting the low at about, we're at 103,204. And then the next stop is that technical low that we've got down this strategic level. So 100,700 to 96,700. So that's the reality of the moment. So right now, what we want to do is hold 112,118 as a critical level and get to that next pivot. And then we can keep moving. And that would be good for BTC. So we're still very much in this very boring pattern, not knowing which direction we are. And, I know I've been going on this for months, but this is a really pivotal point in the market. Are we going up and are we testing this region again, sitting to 120, 127, and then a continuation up to complete this bull market and, go out to that 150 mark. Definitely worth watching what I said on Saturday in that previous video with all the different patterns, or are we heading down and we're going to see that 80K? So that's our collapse. So BTC treasuries is another one to watch as well. So if they all have been leveraging to get more Bitcoin in their treasuries, that could be a catalyst as well. And, I do know that some of them have been doing that. So there could be like just testing how far they can push until they need to put those liquidations through. So this liquidation of 19 billion may have been a test run for what's going to happen at the end of the market. So just keep that in mind when you're over leveraging and you're like sending all your Bitcoin and taking loans against it. USDT has behaved and has come down. It's broken down below. So that does mean I do believe BTC is going up for now to retest that 119. So just keep an eye on that. DXY, as I explained on that Saturday recap, needs to hold under 100.34. Breaking above that, I'll probably cry and I'll think maybe the market's like ending, but we'll deal with that when that happens. So dominance is sitting on the pivot at the moment. So hopefully that flips and Bitcoin starts to creep up. And the total is looking nice. Just sitting below that pivot at 3.96, breaking that is ideal. And we want to then get the next, I'm going to turn that one into a pivot. No, I don't want to put text on there. Okay. It's not wanting to turn into a pivot for me. Hang on, I'll clone it. There we go. Okay, so 4.13 trillion. So 3.96 trillion, then 4.13 trillion. We're breaking 4.13 trillion. We're more than likely going up. ETH has, as I said, runs after BTC, even if BTC has topped. If October 6 was the top, as somebody weirdly predicted that there's 1,064 days for BTC and that's it. And now if we're topped, ETH will continue to run for another probably 6 weeks. So stock on the daily is looking really good. We're very neutral on the RSI, and the MACD is about to flip positive. So it's looking really good for ETH to continue up. Pivot is just above 4268. I think it's going to play with that for a little bit, make you feel a bit uncertain as to whether it's going up, and then it should break through. Then the next pivot after that is 4438. So ETH BTC pair is just above, still below the pivot for that one as well, which is 035. So yeah, it's kind of, we're at this stage right now where it's could go either way. To me, I think we're still going to like slowly crawl up as people come back into the market. They're slowly licking their wounds. They're slowly adding a little bit more money, and the market is overall quite resilient, unless we do have a complete flush out. I don't think that's now. I still think we're about 2 months away from that, but as always, protect your capital, have stop losses in place. At this point in time, it's always wise to have a couple of stop losses. Make sure they're market stop losses. I know you get slippage. I know that can hurt at times, but at least like you're not getting like the stop loss jumped and you're then holding underwater bags. We're still getting liquidated if you're in leverage trade. So yeah. Now, if you do want to spot trade and you want some amazing benefits, head to OKX. When you join, add 1890266. That's my referral code, and that will give you some really cool, amazing stuff when you sign up, bonuses and fee reductions, which is always nice. So yeah, head to OKX, and they're a safe, what I call a safe exchange. So no exchange is safe 100% because you're putting your money there. But after the FTX stuff happened, we had Merkle-Tree, we've got proof of reserves, we've got a lot of micro rules have come in that tell us what we can and can't do with an exchange, how they treat your capital, how they sort of match it dollar for dollar, that sort of stuff. So it is a safer way than a DEX. Ask yourself, why are you on a DEX? What are you hiding? Do you not want to pay taxes? Is that the problem here? Are you hiding the money? And more and more governments are going to start wiping out those leverage trades on DEXs because they don't want you on there. And that's essentially what's happening. So you've got to look at what the bigger picture is here. Why are they doing this? Why is it happening predominantly to DEXs? Why is it happening to people borrowing crypto? What are they trying to do? What's the conspiracy theory, so to speak? And that's kind of what I look at. So yeah, I've been in crypto long enough to have lots of conspiracy theories. So let me just play you an ad. I'm going to grab a drink of water and then I'm going to bring you some else. Welcome back. Okay, we've got alts. And hi to Sovereign Magic, and thank you for your kind comment. That's lovely. So we've had Tao Bitenza requested through getting started in crypto.com in the chat, and it has just broken a pivot, which is nice, which means it's likely going up to see the next one. So 532 is the next one. Obviously, it needs to break these regions here. It's not broken the previous high, so it's still technically bearish. But it has had a nice bounce on this. It's retested beautifully, held, and continued to head up. It is getting up. This is a 4 hours, so I'm just going to drop it down and see where we are on the hourly. We're getting quite high on the indicators, so we are going to get a bit of a sell-off fairly shortly. Any pullback, if this is impulsive at the moment, doesn't have 5 waves, needs to hold 337. So that's our bearish pivot at the moment. So if once it's got 5 waves, it can come back right down to that 250 mark. I doubt it will. Once we've got 5 waves on a lot of patterns, a lot of people are going to be jumping back in on the pullback. So I think most are sort of being a little bit more careful, a little bit more cautious, and sort of seeing where we're going. Whereas, you know, we've got a couple of trades in at GSIC at the moment that have done really good, because you can see when a chart's about to bounce and when it's the volume's coming back in. So we can see, you know, we had quite a big sell-off. This is the hourly, and we've got a bit of volume coming back in for this one. But I do think we're going to see a pullback fairly soon because all the indicators are getting quite toppy. Solana is going to retest this support, the previous support as resistance. So I'd say it's probably going to get to that pivot to 1457, pull back, maybe retest down at this point here, which is 196, and then sort of head up. We want Solana to confirm that 259, because that confirms this inverse head and shoulders and sorry, cup and handle on this one. And yeah, ideally that would be a beautiful thing, and then it can continue up and it would be amazing. That would sort of show us, okay, this is super bullish and bull run's not complete. Alts, ETH still going, even if Bitcoin doesn't. ADA, this is another one of the signals. I still think it's got another like move left in it. Next pivot is a bit above what I've got here. So 82 is the next pivot for ADA, but it should get to at least 78, I would think. And like, this is a 4-hour. And if you go to YouTube, watch that scalping video, makes it super easy. We're just about to cross on the 9 and the 21 EMA, and that makes it more bullish as far as I'm concerned. Even if it does come back and retest, it's still a fairly bullish pattern. So you can see on the 2-hourly, we've had a cross. So that, you know, 0.7826 is looking good. We've still got room to move on the RSI. So this one just dropped out the bottom, literally went like so low. So 200 MA on the daily is sitting at 25. Now, it could hit there, but I'd say it's probably going to hit just a touch higher, which is the previous support. So it's going to retest to see if it can break through, or if that's now a resistance. So if it's a resistance, we're testing lower. So yeah, so that resistance is sitting at 27. I do think we get there for, say, it's looking quite positive on the daily. We've just crossed on the stock, and, you know, we're slowly changing momentum on the MACD. MACD is a lagging indicator, but we can get a general idea of sentiment of what's been happening. We haven't got the volume coming yet into the alts, but I think as we slowly get some momentum, that will happen. Of course, be really careful, keep those stop losses moving up into profit. We haven't confirmed any patterns yet. So this is still overall a bearish market at this point. So super careful if you are in, you know, longs, or, you know, just in spot with the trades going up. Now, ZEC, so Zcash has been, we need to appreciate this, because this went up when everything went down. And, you know, it's hit some pretty high fib levels. So 1.786, which is a really unusual fib level. So which means, to me, I think this is going to get just a correction in this region and continuation up. So I think next we're seeing 417 for Zcash. So it's one that I've been following like since down here, and it's broken out. So it's looking lovely, still looking really good. The other one is Zen Horizon, which is still looking quite nice as well. Had a strong bounce. Okay, so we've got a couple more. Let's see if my internet will allow us. So we've got ZCN, ZBCN. Let me get them all loaded up. VChain. And that ambient sound in the background is my snoring dog, for anyone that can hear that. it's always there. ZCN, ugly chart anyway. Not something I would potentially trade. Let's have a look. That's fine. Okay, flat bottoms break down. It's got a flat bottom. So I don't think this is, while it might break out a little bit, and there's a pivot at about 26, at 0.26. So if it doesn't break that pivot, this is still going down. There's a lower pivot here at 0.17 as well. So they're the two pivots to watch. But as a rule, flat tops break up, flat bottoms break down. So, and that's predominantly what happens in these patterns. So just be aware of that when you see a flat bottom. So sometimes we can get a double bottom and we go, oh yeah, cool, we've got a double bottom. But this pattern is so ugly that, you know, if we start breaking those pivots at 17 and then that, you know, 20-ish one, whatever it was, 2-0, then maybe it's got hope. I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, it's not my favorite chart to look at. ZBCN. Now this one had a nice correction, went right back down to the 0.86. Did on this one, so when we have a look, so I would say this is correction over for this one. So hang on, just let me get the bottom. So 0.5 went down to the golden zone. So we've got the touch to the golden zone, went down. Hang on, trying to move this, not that. So almost to the 786. So 1, 2, 3. I think it might be still bearish. Just looking at that chart. Unless we're going into a triangle. So could be going into 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably stay low. And then it's a really ugly looking triangle though. Yep. So it's rejected on the 4th. So I would say at this point, we've tested down for that C. We need to break that 0.005 pivot. No break to that pivot, then likely we're coming back down and we're doing an E wave. The only thing that sort of shows that maybe it's got a little bit of hope of breaking that and continuation up. Next pivot after that would be around 50.0057. So they're the two pivots to watch, but this major one here, 0047, could just pinch through it to try and touch that pivot there at 005. Does look like it could have that momentum. If I'm going to drop it down to an hourly. Hourly is quite bearish looking, so it might retest. So it might do something like this first. So here, one more bit of a dip, and then come up to that, and then down this way. So that's a potential pattern. So I do think it's got a little bit of like upward momentum to test that region, but whether it breaks through and whether we've got the strength will depend on BTC overall. So next one was VeChain. So that one dropped it out the bottom. Let me take all this old stuff off. I'm going to go high time frames for this one. Clearly, I've played with this one a bit. Okay, we broke a low there, so that's interesting. So this could be correction over for VeChain, and I'll just tell you why. So let's just go down. So if we go back to 2017 BTC, this has got a similar pattern to what that had like for the bear run. So we've got the W, we've come up to an X, come all the way down for our Y, then we've come to our X. So an X is a failed wave, basically. So it means it's got 5 waves, but it failed to restart the bull run or the bullish run, and then it comes back down and it retests. So does this Z wave or Z wave have enough waves? It could like literally be complete here. So it needs to have 5 waves to be a complete wave. So 1, 2, 3. Have we got 5 yet? 4. So 1, 2. Okay, now I need to really zoom in on this last wave to see if we're finished on this correction. See if we've got enough waves. So we've got 1. So this the last wave needs to also have 5 waves. So then it's got 1, 2. Ignore that because I want to see. I'm going to measure something in a second. All right, so it maybe. Let me just measure a wave here. Okay, so it's that one. All right, so what I'm doing is in Elliott wave, the third wave can't be the shortest. It doesn't have to be the longest, but it can't be the shortest. So if this pattern is correct, and is finished, so our wave 5 got an extension. So wave 3, while this is a really truncated wave, is not the shortest wave. So this wave 1, that would be 1. So in this pattern here. So ignore all of that. Hang on, I'm just going to remove that. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4 with an extended 5. So yeah, this could be done. It literally could be done. So I'm going to just have a look where we need to move on these pivots. All right, so let's have a look at the pivot to know whether we're done 100% or not. Okay. So if we can get VeChain VET above 0.0218, then we can consider this going potentially into a bullish pattern. So yeah, it's literally almost there. And I think it's been one of the longest corrections that we've had during this run. And it's been excruciating for everyone that loves it. But I'm going to go up to the weekly just to pull that out and show like what a pattern it was, because it had some beautiful moves and then it's just continued to go like sideways and you know, almost got a breakout at this point. So this is in 28th of October 2024, where we did see a lot of sort of, you know, alts really sort of topping out at that point. But it has done a lower low. So potentially if it can cross that 02181 point, then yeah, we will look at that as being bullish. It's still got lots and lots of sell pressure on the higher time frames. Lower time frames, I think that's slowly trying to like ease. We have had a capitulation event at that point on lower time frames. Higher time frames, did we? Because that normally means we've bottomed. Yeah, we're pretty much flatline. There's not a lot of volume coming in, but that may change when these patterns start to break pivots. So just be aware. So it might be one to take a small bite of and see where it goes, have a tight stop loss, that kind of thing. So yeah. And that is pretty much it for it, the market. Now, if you missed the start of this, go back, listen to my rant about being safe in the market, because I'm like the crypto mama of you all and just telling you to be like safe. Go out there and be safe, kiddies. And that's kind of what I feel when I'm telling you all off. But just be super careful with leverage at the moment, because we are coming to the end of that 4-year cycle, and that is where, you know, whales, killer whales are going to come in and like literally take you out. So be super cautious in the market. So I will catch you next week, and of course I'll catch you on X, on YouTube. If you want some psychology stuff, please head to Instagram or to TikTok. There's heaps of psychology stuff, heaps of quantum physics. I kind of love talking about that, but you guys don't like me talking about it on Twitter, so I don't. But yeah, if you do like that, head over there and follow. And of course, I'll be back here and every day in Getting Started in Crypto. So make sure you come and join. It's like we've had some awesome signals lately. So, and we trade mostly spot, so you're not going to get absolutely wiped out. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.